is Ashley Poole. My teammates Gregory and Trevor will introduce themselves later in the presentation. And our team was See You Later Shoe Incorporated. So our overall performance, as far as our net revenues, we started off a little low, and then we continually increased throughout the simulation. Our earnings per share were about the same. We had a great spike in 2014. And then our return on equity, again, kind of up and down throughout the presentation or throughout the game. And then our stock price, again, we had a nice spike in 2014. In 2015, it did dip down because we did not purchase stock that year. Our credit rating, you can see that it remained fairly high throughout the whole simulation game. We did purchase some room in the beginning, and we wanted to pay off as soon as possible. So our credit rating stayed at A+, years 14 through 20. Our image rating did go up and down throughout the simulation. And then our global unit sales, as far as the internet sales, we, throughout the game, we were able to really figure out how to increase that. And so as you can see, it had a steady increase. We made most of our money through the wholesale sales. You can see all the red, they did continue to increase. And then towards the end of the simulation also, we expired all of our capacity. And so as the simulation went on, we had less room for private label sales. And then the global market here, you can see that we started off really strong, and unfortunately it did dip down as the game progressed. And then just our strategic vision for the company, I'll read it straight from here. The vision of See You Later Shoe Incorporated is one that proves most beneficial to our shareholders. We seek profit maximization through a variety of means, including expanding marketing efforts, capacity expansion, cost cutting, and strategic pricing. As a company, our goal is to create as much wealth as possible while maintaining a steady growth in the market share. A healthy company produces substantial results. We consider ourselves a growing company that can provide our consumers with an edge on footwear. Thank you.
So now we'll be talking about the performance targets for year 21 and year 22. Here's a chart going over year 20, like I said, year 21 and year 22, involving the EPS, the ROE, credit rating, image rating, our stock price, market share wholesale, and the market share internet. Now to present strategy and evolution. Internet. We initially began with a high price of $75 and evolved to a much more competitive one at $68. We focused on increasing the SQ ratings and models offered throughout. Additionally, we began with minimal advertising. Then we advanced our advertising efforts and offered free shipping. On top of better celebrity appeal, the market share and number of sales increased. In terms of wholesale, price started at $48 and ended at $66. That was an increase in SQ ratings and started with 250 models and ended with 200. We remained constant in advertising, rebates, retailer support, and delivery time. Just like the retailer demand, sales and market share, we started okay, did well, and finished poorly. For the private label, before the need of full production and overtime, we sold private label shoes at a competitive price and did well. It seemed as if the other teams did not know how the simulation worked at the beginning. Toward the end, we did not have leftover production available for sale, and the market was saturated. Now I'm going to be talking about production and workforce compensation strategy. Our production strategy evolved around meeting the demanded shoes with specific categories. We failed at building a new plant in Latin America. From there, we purchased capacity, invested in facility upgrades, equipment upgrades, and assembly line upgrades. We relied on overtime production to fill the gaps. Our workforce compensation strategy was to pay just enough to get by. We wanted to meet investor expectations and exceed strategic vision statements. Depending on what numbers needed to be reached, include our focus and investment on workforce compensation, this proved to be a weakness in year-by-year strategy. My name is Trevor, McKenna, and I'm going to be handed over to Gregory.
My name is Gregory Smith, and I'll continue the presentation with the finance strategy. We managed our finances through dividends, debt versus equity, stock issues and repurchases, credit ratings, and then our strategy moving forward in the game. But for dividends, we did not use these dividends until year 20. When we did use them, we paid out $3 per share. We did this to increase the image rating, but it took a big hit on the EPS and ROE, and that's kind of why we stayed away from it for all the other decisions. For debt versus equity, our plan was to repay the debt as soon as possible in order to maintain a solid credit rating and to eliminate the cost of interest. Furthermore, stock issues and repurchases. For the first 6 years, we bought the maximum number of stocks, which substantially increased our EPS and ROE. We felt that these investor expectations of the EPS and ROE were very important, and the stock issues really helped us in those categories. We never optioned for the repurchases until year 20, as we needed to create capital for the loss of ROE and EPS of giving dividends. Credit rating. We aimed to pay off loans as soon as possible. We also borrowed the beginning rounds even when we had the capital just to grow the credit ratings. Moving forward, if we were to do a year 21, year 22, our dividend policy would be most likely to change from year to year because of the strategic vision we have set forth. In the case of another 10 years, we would have to completely reevaluate the strategic process. So now we'll talk about our competitors in the branded and private label areas. For branded competitors, we started strong in this category. However, by the end of the simulation, we failed to differentiate ourselves while asking a premium price. This segment fell from our grasp, and our inability to adapt to the price and SQ ratings proved detrimental. Our internet competitors consist of Egypt Kicks, Apollo Shoes, and Baker 7 Athletic. Each proved to be close rivals in just the internet sector. Although each of these companies have a different approach to this segment, we have to compete with each of them in order to gain market shares and sales. We proved victorious in this category as we had nearly 50% more market share than the next highest team mentioned. Private label competitors, by the end of the simulation, we did not compete in this category. Harris and Friends capitalized on this, and that's how they had such a big comeback to tie for first place. So a strategy for how we would beat our competitors in year 21 and year 22. The first team I want to mention is Harris and Friends, who we tied for first place with. The way we would beat them is to take away their majority market share in the private label category. If we undercut them at our possible loss, their cheap and inexpensive brand would not be able to compete. Earlier we showed you graphs on the market snapshots, and what their strategy is low price, low models offered, and offer an okay product with minimal SQ ratings, and that's how they focused on their brand. So if we undercut them in their biggest category of private label, we may lose at first, but they will take a much bigger loss than we will, and we'll capitalize on their loss. Secondly, Lace is another rival shoe company, which is the only other competitor worth mentioning, really. They struggled in Latin America, especially in the wholesale segment. If we applied our Latin American approach to attack against their market share in another region, then Lace would not be able to compete. We really beat Lace in Latin America, and we feel as if we were to repeat that process again in another region, Lace would be out of the picture. Other than these two companies, in the amount of 2 years, there are really no other existing threats to see you later shoeing. So throughout the simulation, we were constantly learning about what to do, what not to do, any tricks within the simulation, and how to manipulate the results. But first and foremost, we need to commit to learning the simulation beforehand. That was a big lesson learned. Secondly, do not expect the other teams to do the same things as they did in the practice rounds. Our strategy was based off of these results, and it hit us really hard, because we went into year 11 of the real simulation really confident really focused on one certain game plan that worked well in the practice rounds. However, everyone seemed to have changed the way they did their business, and it really hurt us in a huge way. So another way to do well in this simulation is use the charts and market snapshots to capture evidence of competition before it's too late. And then another one is build or invest in capacity so you can sell private label to the failing companies. This is how Harrison Friends capitalized. Do not worry about creating wealth. The goal is to meet and beat the investor expectations and score high in the simulation grade. This is recorded in the manual. Most people were just trying to make profits, but the actual goal is to beat investor expectations and then get that grade on the scoreboard. Do not waste your chances in the bonus categories. Take these free points while you can. Always put an effort in getting the bonus points. Buy stocks early and a lot of them. In order to increase your EPS and ROE substantially and get a lot of extra points, you need to buy stocks early, especially when they're cheap and they're limited. When completing a 3-year strategic vision statement, make the goals attainable so that your shortcomings don't affect your overall performance, even if you perform better than average. We messed up on the first 3-year strategic plan by putting our 3-year strategic vision statement as like goals we wanted to get to instead of realistic expectations of what the company needed to get to. Do not become complacent with a lead. Constantly look for ways to advance in the game. This kind of hurt us. We were sitting in the driver's seat around year 17, and we were kind of complacent and just said, hey, let's just keep doing what we've been doing and not really worry about anything. And then Harrison Friends shot up, and they eventually tied for first place with us, so that kind of hurt us in the end run. Thank you. We appreciate your time and consideration and watching our presentation. Have a nice day.